Hi everyone, it's Leandra from VidCode here, and welcome to another episode of Coding Club. For those of you who haven't been here before, Coding Club is a really fun series that we're doing where we learn to code by making creative projects. In the past, we've made things like a video filter, like you'd see on Instagram, and we've coded memes. You can see those videos during other times on the channel. Today, we're going to be working on making a slideshow, and while we're doing it, we're going to learn how to be good digital citizens. We're going to learn about things like licensing and how to find pictures that we're allowed to use. We're also going to learn about a new JavaScript object called arrays. The project we're going to code together today is a museum exhibit slideshow. We're going to put it together using Creative Commons resources. When we search for Creative Commons media assets, we're only using media that the creators have told us that we're allowed to use. If you haven't seen any other club videos before, that's totally fine. This is a project for beginners. We're going to be using a platform called VidCode during Coding Club. VidCode is free to sign up, and it's a really fun, open-ended platform where you can first learn to make projects like the ones we do in club, and then go beyond that to make anything that you want. Things like special effects, things like Snapchat filters, and things like video games. To get started with Coding Club, you're going to want to visit vidcode.com and make an account. This way, you'll be able to save your work and access all of the tutorials. Everything that we go over in Coding Club is available online for free. If you're under 13, you'll want to have a parent or guardian or a teacher help you make an account. To start, go up to Create Account. If your parents are helping you, you can select Educator or Guardian. They'll be able to add you as a student. If you're signing up alone, you can click Student here. If your teacher or guardian is signing you up, they'll give you a classroom code you can put here. If you're over 13 and your teacher or guardian isn't part of signing you up, you can select I don't have a classroom code, I'm over 13, and sign up with Google, Microsoft, or your email address. Now that you're signed up, let's look at some examples of stop motion projects. Here's the first one. This is a stop motion showing the life cycle of a frog, starting as a tadpole and then all the way to adulthood. You can see this movie dot frames and these two square brackets holding all of these pictures. That's an example of an array. That's holding all of the pictures that make up this slideshow. This is another example of a slideshow. This is showing information and pictures of Dr. Mae Jemison, an astronaut. You can see in the description, I'll zoom in on that, this student took the opportunity to use the description of their project, which you'll have the opportunity to write, to add more information about her life. That description is where we're going to be adding where we got our media and what kind of license it uses. Here's one more example. This is a stop motion of images from the Brooklyn Museum, and this is going to be similar to what we're making today. Before we start coding, I'm going to show you a quick 5-minute video that one of my VidCode teammates put together to introduce the concept of arrays.
In JavaScript, an array is a data structure that holds a collection of ordered items. Let's break that down. The important parts are JavaScript and collection of ordered items. Some of the specific details of arrays are different from one language to another. In general, what we describe here will serve you in all JavaScript development, but the nuances in other languages may be different. The other important part is collection of ordered items. To explain, let's think of an array like a street. Arrays can be empty, like our street here. Let's add something to our array. An item in an array is like a house on the street. Let's add the string hello to our street array. A collection indicates that there could be more than one item. Let's add a number and a true value. An item in an array can be just about any data type. The order of items matters in an array. We will refer to our houses in order from left to right. To refer to these houses, you could call them by their address. In coding, we call the address of an item an index. You might be tempted to call the address of the first house index 1. However, when you count items in an array, you start at 0. So the address to the first house on the left is index 0. This is sometimes referred to as 0 indexed. The houses on the street describe JavaScript arrays in the abstract, but how do you actually create arrays in JavaScript? Arrays in JavaScript can be identified by a pair of square brackets. To create an array, you can just type a pair of square brackets. The items you want to be in your array when you create it can be added between the square brackets, separated by a comma. Let's recreate our array from the street example by adding the number 9, the string hello, and the value true.
It's okay if that didn't make 100% sense. It just serves as your introduction to the concept of arrays. And it'll make more sense once we start working on them and seeing them in the workstation, and seeing them in your actual coding project. So with that, let's actually log into VidCode and get started coding something together. So to find the Slideshow project that we're going to be doing today, you're first going to sign into your VidCode account. If it doesn't look like this, go ahead and click My Classes on the top, and it'll drop you in the right place. Then you're going to click this big blue button that says Start Coding, and that'll drop you into your course. You can see that I have some check marks here from previous projects that we've done in Coding Club. So you're actually going to go over to the left here. You see where it says Starter Projects, right above Intro to JavaScript, and click into it. Starter projects are projects that you can start from and create that don't fit into the Unit 1 course progression. If you want, on your own time, you can check some of these out. Code a Snapchat Filter is one of my favorite projects. For now, find Slideshow on the top and press Start. This will drop you into the coding interface. It looks similar to other times that we've been here. There's going to be instructions on the left, your code editor in the middle, where your code is going to go, and then your canvas, your final project that you're actually working on the right. You also have a media gallery here. Your media gallery looks a little bit different than previous projects. You have this drop-down. It includes people and my photos. You have the ability to upload files. You also have the ability to take photos from your webcam, if you have one. It's fine if you don't. So we actually don't have the pictures that we want uploaded yet. For this project, we want to make a slideshow based on the displays in our favorite museum. So to do that, like I mentioned before, we want to make sure that we are using pictures that we are allowed to use, and we want to make sure they're from reputable sources. So the first thing I'm going to do is search Creative Commons for photos. You can search Creative Commons in Google, or you can go to, so you can search Creative Commons in Google. I just put it into my search bar, but you can put it into google.com, or you can go directly to creativecommons.org. From here, let's go to Use and Remix. Click here to find searches we can use. And now we're at search.creativecommons.org. I'm going to be looking for exhibits from the Brooklyn Museum, but you can choose a different topic. You can choose animals you like. I've seen people upload their own artwork, or you can choose exhibits from your favorite museum instead. Oh. I meant to type in Brooklyn Museum. Cool. So I have so many different pictures here. Like I mentioned before, Creative Commons is a type of license that lets the creator of an image or a graphic tell you how they want it to be used and what kind of attribution they want. Attribution just means how you say where you got their media from. Some people don't need to be linked back to, and other people do, other projects do. So here we can go to, I want something that I can. Here it's used for commercial purposes or modify or adapt. we want to be able to modify or adapt our projects. You're not just using it at face value, right? You're putting it into a slideshow. You might add filters to it. So click modify or adapt. And then let's check out licenses here. There are a lot of different licenses. We'll get more into these later. I'm not going to click too much into any of these. I'm just going to know that all of these I'm allowed to modify or adapt. You can see on the top here, this one I couldn't use for commercial use. And we'll see more details about how we have to attribute and share where we got these from when we open them up. So let's go ahead and choose which pictures that we want for our slideshow. Let's see, I really like this. This is very beautiful. So let's open this up. It looks like, let's click into this license to get more information. So with this project, I'm free to share it. I'm free to adapt it, so I can change it and build upon the material, which I'm going to do. I'm not going to use it for commercial purposes, so I'm never going to make money off of these pictures. And I have to give appropriate credit, provide a link to the license, and indicate if changes are made. So one thing that I have to do is remember where I got this picture from. I'm actually just going to leave these tabs open, but you can maybe write it down. And I'm going to add that in the description of my project when I'm done. So let's go here, let's save this picture. I'm just going to save it as image 1. And this is actually really important. So when you upload your pictures onto VidCode, they are going to, like, the actual name of the file is going to be visible in your code. So if I saved it as this 531582 underscore, it's a nightmare. I'm not going to know in my code what picture that's referring to. So instead, I'm going to call it something so that when I see it in my code, I know what picture in my media gallery it's talking about. So I'm going to say BK Museum Front and save that. And I got there just by right-clicking on the picture and pressing Save Image As. So let's find a few more. I'm going to go back here. Or actually, so I'm going to go back, but I also want to save this link so I can give this person attribution. So I'm just going to save this in a new tab so that it's really easy for me to go back to and see where I got it from when I publish my project. Let's see. I think this is a really nice next shot because it's kind of like to the viewer. They saw the outside and they walked in. I'm going to open this in a new tab. This looks really beautiful. Let's see what kind of license this is. So with this license, I'm also free to share and adapt this project, which is cool. I want to be able to share this thing that I make. I want to be able to remix it because I'm changing it. I'm turning it into a slideshow. And it looks like I also have to give appropriate credit and provide a link to the license here. So this seems very similar to the last one. So same thing as before. I'm going to right-click on this picture, save image as, and once again, I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it BK Museum Entrance. Cool, and I'll choose 2 more pictures. I think I'm going to use both of these. They're both of the Egyptian exhibit. If I maybe had more time, I would show specific parts of the exhibit, maybe make someone feel like they're having a tour around it. So let's open this one. Creator, the World Wide Web on Flickr. I think this is the same license. It is, so I can share it and adapt it. I have to give appropriate credit, and it's also non-commercial. So let's save this. I'll call it Egyptian Exhibit 1, since there's going to be 2 of them. And then let's open this one. And we'll go ahead and save this. Let's make sure that we can use it first. Let's check the license. We can adapt it. It's always good to double check. If we're being good digital citizens, it's better to double check and make sure that we're using the artifacts we find online in an appropriate and responsible way. So let's go ahead and, now that we've read that, save this project. So I'm going to go ahead and save image as, and I'm getting here just by right-clicking on this picture and saving image as. You could also probably drag it to your desktop if you're using something where that's easy to do. So here I'm going to save image as. I'm going to call this Egyptian Exhibit 2. Cool. So now I have all the pictures that I'm going to use in my project made. I can go back to VidCode and upload them and use them in my slideshow. So let's go back to VidCode. I still have my slideshow project open. So as usual, I follow the instructions, and anything that I have to do is going to be in this purple color. So I'm going to click next to get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is upload all these pictures I just found. So I'm going to go to this drop down, switch to My Photos. It's empty to start. And then I'm going to click Upload File above Record from Webcam. This drops me into my desktop, which is where I saved those other pictures. If you saved them somewhere else in your computer, you just have to go in and find where they are. So here, I'm going to select these. I can press Shift and select multiples at a time, and then open this up. And here we go. Now all of these pictures are in my media gallery. They're going to stay there forever unless I delete them, so I can use them in future projects if I want, which is kind of cool. And you can see that I used good file names, and those are visible under each of the pictures. Cool. So now to start, I can actually start dragging these pictures into my code editor. And you'll see that a bunch of code just appeared. And we also saw the picture load in my canvas, which is pretty cool. So here, what's happening? Well, first, we're setting my movie object to look for stop motion pictures. This type of project works differently with my code than a movie does, than just a photo background does. So this movie has to set itself to know that it's going to be a stop motion. There's also movie.frames, and this is an array like we saw. So I know it's an array because I have these open brackets here, these square brackets. There's only one thing in it so far. Let's add some more things. So I'm going to add the Brooklyn entrance. Nothing changes in my project, which is fine. It's just loading the first picture in my array until I add something to change it. And then I'll add Egyptian Exhibit 1 and Egyptian Exhibit 2. You can see what I was saying before about how your file names become important once your project is actually like in your code editor. If this was what it had wanted me to call it originally, all those numbers, it would be really hard for me to know which one was the front of the museum, which one was the Egyptian exhibits. And if something was in the wrong order, it would be really, really tricky for me to go back and get everything in the right order, versus here, I can just kind of see at a glance that everything's where I want it to be. Cool. So this is just a quiz. You're going to find these throughout the tutorials, but it's asking how I think I might make my project start moving. I'm going to give you the answer, but I'm also going to tell you how you can find out for yourself. So you can see there's all these options here, but a clue that I can use is the code that's already in my code editor. So do you see how I have movie.frames, and that's set to all these pictures? That's really the only clue I have. And frames is a property of movie. And so I can see, all right, so if movie.frames equals is the syntax for this array, this frames array, what might interval, which is actually going to make my project move, be set to? And it's going to be movie.interval equals. And I just know that because this is set up, movie, interval, and then an equal sign. So whenever there's a quiz that's asking you about what to do next, your clue is going to be the code that's already in your code editor that you've already written. Cool, so let's make our project start moving. So we are going to write movie.interval equals the instructions say 500, so let's put in 500 and see if that works. And cool, it starts working. So now I have this really cool stop motion video of the Brooklyn Museum. So with this interval number, you can use it to speed up or slow down your stop motion. If I want this to go really fast, I would make it a smaller number because then my pictures are repeating in fewer intervals. Basically, your picture is waiting a certain number of intervals before it switches to the next one. 100 is really fast, it's in milliseconds. So 500 would be 5 seconds. It's going a little bit fast. And then if I put like 1500, it's going to slow down a lot. And I really give people time to see each picture. And at this point, people usually ask how you maybe add text to each slide. The answer to that is you do that using something called a loop. And you learn that in later projects. You learn that in either Unit 3 or Code the News. For this one, we're just making a slideshow. However, you can add text. That doesn't change. So here, you can do that just by, I did that kind of fast. So on step 11 out of 15, I get this text block that appears. So you can go ahead and drag this in, and it's going to create a line of code that's creating this text on your canvas. It says hello by default. You get a variable here called mytext1. If that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. Just know that there's this thing called a function here that is making the word hello appear in your project. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to just call this images from the Brooklyn Museum. We'll see if that fits. It fits for some and not the other. So the reason that this text is kind of wonky and like smaller on other pictures than others is because it changes based on like the relative size of that picture. So if the picture is really big, my text is going to look smaller. It seems like the one that's messing us up is this Brooklyn Museum entrance picture. So I'm just going to get rid of this because it seems like the rest of the pictures are kind of the same size. Yeah, that's better. And then if I want to change this, for those of you who saw Make a Meme, you'll know what I'm about to do. I take the code after my variable name and write mytext1 because that's what it says after var, and then dot size. And I can make it a smaller size. So I'm going to set it to 35. It still doesn't fit. There we go. I'll set it to 30. Other things you can do to change text are things like mytext1.color, and then set that equal to a color. Whenever you have a color on VidCode, you can select it and use this color picker to choose a hex color for you, which is pretty cool. I think this is looking pretty good. Other things that we can do, yeah, so if you get to slide 14 out of 15, it's going to give you all of the kind of possible things that you can change with text. So you could change the font if you want. You can honestly even copy and paste this in. So here I'm going to copy this and paste it into my code, and you can see that my font changed. And if I get to the end here, slide 15 out of 15, or like number 15 out of 15, I actually get all of the filters, all of the effects that I got introduced to in Create a Filter. So if these don't make sense to you, don't worry about it too much. Just know that if you drag them into your code, they're going to have an effect. So like exposure will make your project brighter. Let me show you tint so it's more obvious. Tint will change the color of your object, of your pictures. I'm just going to add a slight vignette to mine. just to give it a bit of a border effect. And then I'm also going to add a bit of noise just to make this feel like it's kind of like an old newsreel, kind of like a grainy, like maybe someone actually came in with a camcorder and filmed these shots of the Brooklyn Museum. So I think this looks pretty good. The last thing that I'm going to do here is submit this project. So go ahead and do that as well. And you can call it anything you want. So the last step here is to actually give attribution for where we got these pictures from. That's where we saved these tabs up here. So I'm going to write this project features images from the Brooklyn Museum. And then I sourced these images from creativecommons.org so people know where I got them from. And then I'm actually going to write where I got these from and what kind of license I used and link back to them. So here I'm going to say the second Egyptian exhibit image was sourced from Flickr user, the Web Wide World. And then I'm going to copy the license name, and I'm going to say under the CC by NC 2.0 license. And then I'm going to say at, copy this link, and put it in. And that's how I give good attribution. Here we have the second one. Oh, that's also by the World Wide Web. Okay, so here I can actually say both Egyptian exhibit images because they both are. I'm just going to put a comma here and link to the second one. So they're both linked to, and I've given attribution to both of them. Here, I ended up not using the kind of entrance image. So I can say the image of the front of the museum was sourced from Flickr user. I can check their name. Uno. I'll just copy and paste that in. Once again, under the, and I'll copy the name of the license. Here we go. Under the CC by NC SA 2.0 license. And then I'm going to link to it as well. And I'm going to say at, and then paste that link. So here I've given attribution to all the photos I've used. And this is how you use those Creative Commons licenses that ask for credit and ask that you link back to them. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and view my project. And here we go. This looks great. So this is my slideshow. You can see my code on the right. All of my information is down here, including where I got my pictures from and from who. And because of the licenses I use, this is all above board. And this is how you find pictures online that you're allowed to use and how to use them. And how to be good digital citizens. If you do want to share your project, you can go ahead and click this link. You can share the link directly with people, or you can embed it in another website.
Hi, I hope you had fun today, made a really cool project, learned a little bit about JavaScript, programming, and digital citizenship. Just to recap, we learned about arrays, which is a JavaScript object that helps us hold an ordered list of data, and that becomes really useful as we learn about loops and as we learn about animations, and just as we learn about ways that we need to hold information so we can use it later in programming. We also learned about Creative Commons licenses, how to search for media that we can use in our own projects, and how to give credit to creators. I hope you had fun, and I hope to see you in future episodes.